I'm talking to two people today. One, people that want to start their own business, and two, people that have a business that you are the business. You're everything in the business. You might have other people there, but everything starts and stops really with you. I'm talking to those two people today. And I want to talk about a book called Built to Sell. Now, if you haven't read this book, this is literally my favorite book of all time. I love this book so much. I think I've listened to it now 5 or 6 different times. I think I've listened to this book more than any other business book that I've listened to. And in all ways of teaching, I believe there are two main ways to teach. One is through step by step. You're talking about, okay, you're going to do A and then B and then C and then D and then E, and you're explaining all the steps, and it's like a checklist that you follow. I think that is a great way to teach. However, I think that there is a prerequisite before you go through a checklist like that, and that's you need to be sold through stories. And this whole book is a story. And inside the story is the checklist of the things that you need to do in order to have, and the goal is this, in order to create a business that runs on systems rather than runs on you. How amazing would that be to create a business or create something that runs without you, right? You don't have to be there all the time. You don't have to do all the things. You can, by choice, if you want to. Like Elon Musk, I know that he works in his businesses with the people designing the different cars, and he's actually an engineer, and that's by his choice. He doesn't have to. He likes to do that stuff, and that's what successful business owners know, is that you do things because you want to do them, not because you have to do them. Okay. So if that is your goal, unless you want to be the business and everything starts and stops with you, you can definitely try that. It's not very fun. I've done it myself. I know a lot of people. This book explains this imaginary guy called Alex Stapleton, and everything started and stopped with him, and it's a very sad place to be, because you don't have the freedom. You don't have the freedom to expand and grow. You don't have the freedom to take a vacation because everything stops and starts with you. So today I would like to talk about this book, Built to Sell, with the story in mind, and share it from the perspective of the story, and hopefully I can share the story well enough that it sells you on the idea of creating a company with the mindset of building it to sell it. And at the beginning he explains that the purpose of creating a built to sell company is that you can sell it, is that it is an option, and being able to sell it means that it runs on its own. It doesn't rely wholly on you. If I sell something that is completely dependent on me, it's going to be worthless unless I go with it. Well, then in that case, I can't sell it, because I'm not going to go with the sell, right? And so the story begins with this guy, Alex Stapleton. He has this marketing agency, and they have tons of different services. I mean, they have ads. You can do ads with them. You can do like online ads. You can do paper ads in the newspaper. You can send direct like letters in the mail to people. You can do brochures. You can do pamphlets. You can do posters. Literally everything. They're a marketing agency, like a typical marketing agency. This isn't a strange business or a different business. There are lots of marketing agencies out there. Well, in the story, this guy Alex Stapleton, he has 5 people on his team. They're just kind of a mediocre team, because in order to run these different services, you have to pay a lot of money to get the best of the best because it's very specialized. Um, and and so what he ends up doing, he's working there for like 8 years. He's working on this business for 8 years, and they don't have very much money, and it's just a very very bad place. They have tons of expenses, but they're not making very much money. And one of the saddest parts is that they only have a few customers, and that are working with their agency, and basically the customers are saying, well, I don't really like how you do this ad, and you should change this like this, and the customers are telling them how they should do their services and run their services. And this guy's like, man, I've been here for 8 years. I don't really get to spend time with my family that much. I'm gonna go to one of my successful friends who's built and sold several different businesses and talk with him and see how much my business is worth. So he sets up a meeting with him, sits down with him, and he explains his whole business model, explains everything about the customers, how they don't have very much money and how they only have a few customers, how they have lots of services to offer though. And his friend's like, I'm sorry to tell you, Alex, but your business is essentially worthless. And he's like, what? It's worthless? Yeah. It's not worth anything. He's like, you mean to tell me that after 8 years I create a worthless business? He's like, it's worthless right now. But if you want, I can help you create it, and create it within the next 2 years into a business that is sellable, and you can make a substantial profit off of it. And so he starts having these meetings with his friend, and one of the lessons that I learned from this story is, at the beginning of the story, is that don't try to do everything for everybody. And I've tried to do that so many times in my own business. I've seen other people try to do that. Oh yeah, I mow lawns, and I wash windows, and I scrub trash cans, and I can vacuum your house, and I can wash your car, and I can repair your roof, and it's a handyman, right? A handyman, a marketing agency, anybody that's doing a ton of different services. There's many reasons why that's so hard to scale. A couple of them is that you have to train somebody to fulfill all those different things, and that's very hard to do. How are you going to train one person to mow and edge and clean the gutters and shovel the snow and vacuum houses and repair roofs and like all these different things? Second is whenever you expand out, you diversify more on your products before you're huge, because I've learned that once you get to a certain point, you're like Amazon, then you're like, okay, we've reached the maximum in selling books online. Okay, what other categories could we go into where we sell other things online? And they still stay narrow in we sell things online, but they've started to broaden out once they've already reached that maximum. Now, a lot of people see Amazon, they're like, oh, well, Amazon sells everything, so I can sell everything too. And that's not the case. And then the second thing is that the issue with Alex Stapleton is that he is the business. He does everything. And when you do everything, that goes along with you have to hire specialists. You can't scale your business. If I literally have to, let's say I build chairs, I build custom chairs. Let's say I build custom furniture would be a great example. One, I'm handcrafting all the chairs, all the couches, all the dining tables, all the light fixtures, everything. I'm handcrafting it. Well, one, I'm limited on time because there's only one of me, okay? Two, I have to go and I can't just be on one thing, like on chairs or on tables. I have to try to learn about so many different areas, and it slows me down. It slows me down big time. So getting both of those things where you're selling one, and this is where in the story he sits down with his friend, and he's like, his friend's like, what's one thing you're really good at? Huh? What is one thing? He says things. I mean, what would you say? What's one thing you're really good at? He sits there and he says, well, I am really good, and not even me, but we as a team are really good at creating logos. We already have a 5-step process how we create logos, and he walks through the 5 steps. He's like, this is awesome. He's like, what I would recommend is you become the best logo designers in the world. The best logo designers in the world, period. That's it. Forget everything else you do. And he's like, what? But we have so many customers right now. And you might be thinking, if you have a business, but I can't specialize in just one thing because I have to pay the bills. I have so many customers. And he walks through in the story how he transitions slowly into it so that he doesn't go down on his cash, on his cash flow, his monthly cash flow. But he does switch from providing many different services that are hard to perform to one product. And a product means a service is basically something that you tailor to each individual customer, okay? A product is you give the same thing to every single person, okay? You're not changing it depending on who the person is. So if I create chairs, doesn't mean that they have to be crappy chairs, right? There's like Chanel perfume that's the most expensive perfume, and it's amazing perfume, but they don't special tailor their perfume to each person. They have one perfume, or they have a collection of perfumes, but the point is that it's not tailored to each person. They don't. When you go to Macy's and buy Chanel, you're not like, I think you need to change this concoction so it helps me a little bit better. No, they have their one product, right? And same with this, that logos. So it's not that you're going to create one logo and basically say, okay, well, here's our Nike logo, or here's our one logo that's going to fit everybody. Rather, here's our one process that we follow that works. So I was talking with somebody about mowing lawns. You're not going to mow, not everybody has the same amount of grass, right? Not everyone has the same amount of grass on their yard. Some people have more grass in the front, more grass in the back. They have turns and curves and stuff like that. However, your process for billing is the same. This much acreage equals this much, right? You're not like, well, I guess I can work with you on the price. And no, you have a set system that you follow, and you don't play favorites. You don't say, well, this person pays me more, so I'm going to do this, and this person, you have a set process that you follow for your business, and that's a product. And so Alex Stapleton, he transitions from this agency to creating logos. And what he does is he's able to bring people on his team just for creating logos, and then he's able to find what he does in the process, and then replace himself and get somebody else who can do that. And then a part of the story, when he's going out and selling the logos, he then hires 2 people to be salesmen for these logos, and then they start selling the logos for him, which then dramatically changes business, because he doesn't have to sell them. And on top of that, not just the only thing, not the only, how do I say this? Not only does that allow him to have more time to work on other things that are even more important than creating the logos or selling the logos. So that creates more time for him, but it also allows the business to scale, and he's able to sell more logos. The team's able to sell more and more and more because they have a team working. Imagine, I talked about this before, but imagine having one person playing soccer against a team of 12 people, right? Or 11 people. I don't know how many people are on a soccer field. But you have a team against one person. Well, a team's going to win every time. If it's 5 against 1, well, imagine if it's 100 against 1. Who do you think is going to win? 1,000 against 1? 100,000 against 1? Obviously, the team is going to win every single time against just one person, because they're able to just get so much more done, and they have more minds together and all that kind of stuff. So working as a team versus working as a solopreneur. And that's one of my big values that I've learned over the years. I used to be a big do-it-myself kind of guy, and over the past few years I've learned to focus a lot more on having teams with me, not only in my business but also with our personal life. Having teams with our church group on different callings and different assignments that we have, having other people helping us, having teams with our health, so having a physical therapist and a chiropractor and a doctor and just lots of different people that can be on our team that can help us out, right? The next thing that he talks about after he starts creating these, he's just in the early stages of switching from being a marketing agency to specializing in logos, is that people, well, how do I say this? People started coming to him and saying, well, can you just make an exception though? I just need some ads done in this category. Can you make an exception for me though? Because I have this special case, and can you make an exception for why I do this? And he goes to his friend, and he's like, so many people are coming to me and they're asking, well, can I hand tailor my logos for them? And can I personally work on the logos for them? And basically getting special requests. And his friend says, your resolve will be tested over and over and over again. And I can attest to that your resolve will be tested. People will continually say, if you're in the business of making chairs, people will say, oh, but you made such amazing chairs. Can you make my table as well? Can you make my couch as well? Can you make this as well? And they will test your resolve over and over and over. And it's so tempting. It is so tempting to be like, well, I mean, I can make a table. I mean, I can make an extra $500. But what is that going to do? Because you're not making the tables, remember? Your team is. Your team is making the chairs. And so if you introduce a table, that's going to be a whole nother set of systems that you have to put in place of how are you going to make the table, and what materials are you going to use, and how are you going to ship a table because it's a lot bigger than a chair, and what are you have to think of so many other things. And especially if you're in the first years of your business, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to specialize in this and in this and in this and in this. That's not specializing. That's diversifying. And like I said before, especially when you're at the beginning, you want to be making tons of sales and tons of money before you then say, hey, what else can we offer our existing customer? What else would they want? And I think that's a big basically argument between business owners, that some of them think that diversifying is the best and others say specialize. And in my personal experience, Specializing is 20 times better. It's so much easier. You get teams involved. I mean, there's so many pros to following this model. But again, you can try whatever you'd like to try and let me know how it goes. You try specializing in 20 different things and you try doing them all on your own. Let me know how it goes. The next thing that happens after your resolve is tested is like I said a little bit before, that you hire teams to run your systems. Okay, so you need to create a system, and that's what Alex Stapleton does. Is he says, what are the 5 steps to creating a logo? The first step is we create a black and white sketch. And the first step is like you ask them questions about who they are as a company. And the second step is you create a black and white sketch. And the third step is you add color to it. And the fourth step and the fifth step. And it's a very simple process to follow. And it is a system. And then you hire people and you say, here are our 5 steps. Here are our 7 steps. Here's what we do. In my business, we create chairs, and here are the 5 steps or the 8 steps on creating a chair, and you have them follow those steps. Now, a tip to the wise when creating a system is that they're also, depending on what business you're in, there might be creativity involved. An example is like an example of no creativity. Well, yeah, an example of no creativity would be like Burger King making burgers in the back. They're gonna follow that system exactly. They're not gonna say, well, you can add 3 pickles if you want, or you can add 1 pickle if you want. It's up to you. We're adding creativity here. No. That's not where creativity is good in a business. Where creativity is good is where you want the person who's creating the logo, you want them to have that creativity juice running on actually like designing the logo. So when they're asking the questions, you say, ask these 10 questions. Then from these 10 questions, use your creativity to create a logo that they would love. And that's where you say use your creativity. Or when you have in Burger King, you can say use your creativity when welcoming people at the front. You don't have to say, hi, how are you doing? Hi, how are you doing? Hi, how are you doing? To every single person. Use your personality to mix it up. If the person's wearing a cowboy hat, be like, yeehaw, man, where did you get that cowboy hat? Maybe they strike up a little bit of conversation, right? So it's not about getting rid of creativity at all. It's about where the creativity should be in the system. And that took me a while to figure out, and actually a lesson that I had to learn the hard way, and that I just barely learned in my own business, with having creativity, but where do we have the creativity? Because before it was use your creativity to teach however you want to run the dance hall, right? We own a country dance hall. To teach classes however you want. And then creativity allows them to do whatever they want. And when it's whatever they want, then there's no structure and every person is different. Then we switch to the other side of things and we were like, there's no creativity allowed anymore because it was so bad and things weren't getting taught the way we wanted. Now you have to say this and this and this and this. And then it was like impossible. How are you supposed to memorize an hour script every single week on teaching a class, or a 2-hour script? That's impossible to ask somebody. But now we found the dichotomy. We found that middle ground of having structure. Here are our 5 steps to running the class, and use your personality. It's both sides of the spectrum, and that's a difficult one to know. And the last point that Alex Stapleton learns in his story. And again, I highly recommend listening or reading the book, Built to Sell, because he goes through the whole story and it will sell you so well on this idea. Is now that you created a system that you're selling one product to one person or one type of people, and it's not dependent on you. You have a team that's running your 5 or your 6 or 7 step process on delivering that product. Now you have the decision where you can either, because now you have a thriving business that you're running the city, right? You have a lot of business. Now you have the decision of either you can sell your business or you can expand your business. You don't have to sell, right? I don't plan on selling for many years. You can choose to expand your business. You can do either one because you have a sellable business. And because you have a sellable business, you can expand because your business here in this city isn't dependent on you to do everything, right? You have systems and in your team to run those systems in place. Now you can say, I want to go over to this city, and now this city, and now this city, or this market, and now this market, and now this market. Let's say you're Netflix and you start out with a small market, and then you can say, okay, like I said before, on expanding with Amazon, and I'll get to Netflix, is that Amazon started out with just selling books, and they were just here. And then that started growing, and instead of expanding into a new city, because they were just online, so they were selling to all the cities, they're like, okay, now this sector of our business is working really well. What other sector can we jump into? What if we went into running shoes? And what if we went into selling carpets? And then what if we went into selling, and they started getting into more areas, but they would go into one, and then they would go into another, and then they would go into another, because they have their system now for here's how we run this one. Same with Netflix. Let's say that they started out with just, I'm not sure what genre they started out with, but let's say that let's just say this isn't how Netflix started, but let's just say, let's just give an example of how Netflix could have started. They could have started out with comedy movies. And then after they went into comedy and people are like, oh, we love your comedy and it's killing it. Then they're like, what if we went into horror movies? And then what if we went into educational movies? And you just jump into different sectors. And same with an in-person business or a brick and mortar company. You start out with one city. And then let's say you start in Atlanta. And then you go to Savannah, Georgia, and then you go to different cities in Florida, and then you start going to South Carolina and then North Carolina, and you start expanding out like that, right? You can expand using this model. This is how you grow your business, and you have that option at the end to either sell or you can expand, and that's basically the story of Built to Sell. Is that it's this amazing process that allows you to create a very successful business, and in the end you can either choose to keep on expanding it or you can choose to sell it. But the main point that I love is that you have the freedom to do that. You're not restricted in I have to do this one way. And my challenge today is for you to go out and buy the book or buy the audio for it, Built to Sell. It's on Audible, and listen to it or read it, and let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about for a business you're starting up or a new business, or an existing business that you already have, and what you think about it. And I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I'm always learning. I'm looking for new ways that I can improve my business. I don't know everything. That's why I'm reading books like these to learn. And I think that it's one of the best ways, that and mentors are the best ways that you can learn how to do things, how to run your business, and basically how to be successful in life. With that said, hope you have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.